Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Culz Interviews. And you can see we got Sam here and we got Mark Eddy. Mark, as you guys should know, has been on our channel quite a bit and been helping out behind the scenes a whole lot. We are very thankful for all the work he has done for us behind the scenes, connecting us with so many cool people. And today we get the opportunity to talk to him about his new book he's been working on. It's one I'm really excited to talk about as well because I got to kind of preview read it, and now it's available out on Amazon for you guys. But we'll get into it. And Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm, really appreciative that you and Sam invited me on for tonight's discussion, and this is the uh, debut interview for my book, so I'm really excited about talking with you two, and both of you have really helped a lot with feedback on proceeding with lakes, lizards, Linton and Leverett.
Yeah, no, we're happy to have you. Tonight is our
It's no,
special 60th anniversary, or 60th episode, I should say, of this. So who better to have on than you? Like I said, you've been helping so much, behind the scenes. And when you asked me to be a preview reader of it, I felt very honored. And it was very,
oh,
very interesting. I really enjoyed it.
oh thank you. Well, it's this, podcasting is becoming is so many people working together.
Yeah, no, that's one thing me and Sam have talked about is it's made the paranormal world better. So
Mhm,
many years ago, the paranormal world, it was so kind of separate and at odds with each other. So if one
mhm.
thing podcasting has helped, it's bringing people together.
Yeah, the
But
networking.
mhm, yeah, and just getting to talk to people that you maybe wouldn't, and then they see you on another show, so they have you on. It's
Mhm.
interesting how that works. But let's get to the book. So, tell us where you kind of got the idea to go down this path.
Do you really want to know? Uh, Wait, I did get stack of uh prompts to show everyone, but here okay, here's my buddy who is behind this, Dr. Cheryl Clausen, and if you, geez, wait, hold a second, she autographed this one for me, May 20th of 2016. Gosh, we're going back almost 9 years to the day, but I when her Beliefs and Rituals came out, um, s- somehow I found out about it. That was probably 10 years ago. And, um, you know, I invited her to be a guest on um, a podcast I was doing. And, we remained in contact. I think maybe a year or so later, I asked her, um, hey, I was going through your Feasting with Shellfish in the Southern Ohio Valley book. And, wanted to do, you know, a included in a book review about a number of other books that are kind of coming out around the same time. So so we were talking about ways to proceed, and I asked her, it's like, okay, if you look at uh, the index, you get all these different categories. Um, in the Green River Valley in Kentucky, the Tennessee River Valley in northern Alabama. And when she gets to the Upper Ohio River Valley, just right out here in front of my house, um, she basically there we go, horrible fading in and out of the picture, but you can see these chart her charts for my area are pretty much blank. And that's basically where she was saying, well, you live close enough to some of those museums. Why don't you see if there's some new material that's been published, or some new discoveries that might be uh, in the labs. So that was basically how it this project got started. And she was kind of like a supervisor, and then uh, she liked the rough draft. She'd say, you don't really need this part. This one's pretty good. Uh, this section's really interesting. Put this a little bit, later. So, okay, you expect that from a college professor. And then she came up with this idea of, why don't you go back to the Ice Age and move forward and show, cultural trends from that w- um, would have become more fully emerged by the archaic time period. I was like, oh, geez. Okay. So I already know that you know the number of paleo points in West Virginia can be held in both hands. And the state wasn't glaciated. So, like, how am I supposed to do an ice age paper on this? I'm about done with that section. But I realized that there was more of a story, several different stories that needed to be told prior to getting to the Ice Age. And going way 300 million years ago, that's basically where my new the Lakes and Lizards book starts. So actually this is the whole series is kind of written like the Star Wars series. It's the original idea, for why I was brought on board, is actually part 4, the Ice Age. Part 3 of this series probably would have been part 2. Part 2 is actually emerged as probably something more important than part 3. So that's like, to answer your question. Uh, I've kind of been writing all 4 parts at the same time and making sure that there's kind of I'm consistent in what Cheryl and a few other proofreaders like you and Sam are seeing that I'm being consistent. And I'm also kind of writing it like a Poe or Dickens uh crime story. Is there's a lot of detail, but it's not like too sciency. But just some of the things that are I thought needed to be mentioned in part 1 are going to play a role in the later sections. So that's kind of answering your question.
It's answering the
So,
question and hyping the audience up for further
yeah.
books. See? So you did
Well,
everything good.
tell from about the third sentence is I did think, yes, well, this is like a real honor for like a prestigious college anthropology professor to ask me to help fill out uh, the blank charts. And y- where's another one of my prompts. you know but when you ask people about West Virginia's prehistory, what do people talk about? Well, Grave Creek Mound. Okay, that's about it. You have the there we go. Pixelated. Okay. Mounds for the Dead. This is like one of the preeminent archaeology books anywhere. This happened to be located only like 6 miles downriver from the Grave Creek Mound. So, some people in the audience might be familiar with this book. What other people might talk about? Well, there's a serpent mound. Well, that's in the Ohio Valley, but it's in Ohio.
Right.
What you get other small books like this, Introduction to West Virginia Archaeology, the early hunters, and the mammoths scooping up the Paleo Indian people in their trunks. So you get encapsulated in like 3 pages, and one's a drawing of the various arrowheads. So there's not a whole lot there, and after talking with so many museums, they're like, please do something like this. We need to get the word out about our area, and so many. It's like every museum from basically Youngstown, Ohio, to Mothman country was so gracious about letting me take photos, interviewing them. That's just in exchange, just give them some publicity.
Yeah.
And you know how much that really means to a museum.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, and us, we work with a lot of local
Yep.
ones, and we have a lot of great ones, and it seems like you do as well. Do you want to like kind of go over a couple that really came in handy? Like, where did you get the Dunkleosteus pick behind you from?
That was at the Orton Geological Museum in Columbus, Ohio, it's on the campus of the Ohio State University.
Oh, the U. Grayson would be so excited if he knew we were
Yeah,
talking about the U.
that's like kind of walk in the door to the small display area, and that greets you. and that was found in the Cleveland area, I believe. So that this is going way farther back in time than people, but there is a really interesting story that over 200 million years later, once you get the first settlers coming into the Ohio River Valley, they're experiencing some really interesting nature, just untamed nature. It's like this kind of stuff wasn't 30-foot long. Pre-sharks weren't swimming in the Ohio River. They were at one time, but there was all of this kind of stuff, the inland seas, to the difference, the evolution of the Ohio River became just a fascinating study in itself. And so the Orton Museum was just really fascinating experience, and they have other mastodon and mammoth information there. Dale did a fantastic job of like gluing together like a broken mastodon tusk. Yeah, so it was a real privilege working with, having a chance to talk with them, and they let me take photos of the like coelacanth minnows. It was cool stuff. Like the Grave Creek Mountain helped me with um, a lot of the archives, the stuff they had in the archives, and give me a chance to read on quite a few Saturdays. The Columbiana County Historical Society let me take photos of like back half of a mastodon that was found locally, ribs. So and it's really, I just really can't thank them enough. And they're going to be appearing later in this series, but they did a tremendous amount to accommodate my requests, and just being annoying. Hey, can I get a photo of this? And things like being like a Carl Kolchak kind of reporter, asking the annoying questions, but they agreed without kicking me out. But um, those are several. I think I named about 3 museums who really meant a lot to me. The West Virginia Geological and Economic Survey spent a lot of time with me going over Lake Monongahela. We can get into that in a little bit. Give me more biographical information on Dr. I.C. White. Well, later in our talk, we can go into more about his contributions. He was actually, a lot of those guys from the local scientists from the, like, say 1830s to about 1900. They did a lot of work with the emerging fossil fuel industry, and as well as the salt industry, because the area was covered by an inland sea.
Yeah, and salt mining and stuff like that got pretty
Yep.
popular.
So
There's a big one down in Kansas that we're going to tour at some point where you can go underground and see it.
mhm.
But like you said,
Yep.
remnants to show and back up the, sea life. Obviously, we got the sea life fossils, but the inland sea being there with the salt backs up that. It's just more evidence.
Yep. Then you get all the sediment on top of that, which makes the coal and shale. Now you get some limes, throw in some limestone, and all the stuff that died, uh, may have been covered up, uh, quickly, and it wasn't scavenged by other critters, and that's where a lot of these researchers working with the fossil fuel industry actually discovered so many of you know, marine dinosaur kind of critters, trees in coal mines. It's actually really, really cool. So it's actually a lot of the local engineers, scientists, or scientists who came to the area actually helped to pioneer the study of fossils. And then, later in the century and into the early 20th century, they're moving out, west, then, you get the discoveries, like the, tiny, that you did. Yeah,
Torosaurus.
yeah, yeah. So, when we're talking about setting up this show, it was really interesting to, kind of compare. I'm more of like a lot of this stuff I'm dealing with is kind of like a shallow inland sea. Um, it's not necessarily the same time period, but where you are, it's what, dry land. You're getting more the like T-Rexes and Triceratops. We're just getting a lot of plants and marine animals here. And it's just kind of interesting to think, well, okay, America's not the same landmass that it's always been. It's changed over millions of years. It's actually fascinating to think about.
Oh, very. Yeah, no, when you think about it, especially when you go back, say the Cretaceous, like you were using the example of, Tyrannosaurus here on the west side. On the east side, you had completely different dinosaurs because they've been separated for so long. Same kind of lineages. Like in the east coast, you had
Yeah.
Appalachiosaurus, which was a tyrannosaur. Um, and like you said, with mining too, it's very interesting. We've seen really big discoveries like iguanodon out in England. Maybe it was Mantellosaurus now, if they've reassigned the genus, but they found it because of a mine operation. They were mining and pulled
Mhm.
up some fossils. And so it's really, really neat, just going into some of these. Now, throughout your research, because obviously you put a lot of hard work and dedication to this project, what shocked you the most? Like, what was something when you were going through it that you were like, wow, that is insane?
Became a passion was learning about um, Lake Monongahela. Um, you had the Monongahela River flowing like a million years ago. It was flowing north like it does now. The Ohio River was flowing north and draining into Lake Erie or Canada, so, somewhere to the north. Okay, we know now it flows southwest and connects with the Mississippi River and drains into, the Gulf of America at New Orleans. But when the ice sheets are coming down, you get the rivers flowing north. Um, they collide, and it caused all that water to back up for hundreds of thousands of years. And just wondering why did the dam break at the southwest corner of the lake, which caused all the water to eventually uh, reverse course and flow to the south. I thought that was fascinating. And you also have, maybe around the same time, you have another, one of these calls, or a dam divides, break around Salem, West Virginia, and the central part of the state, and it caused another river to flow west. And I think that was something really interesting to me. What what happened? Was there, during the Ice Age, was there some, like 50-foot snowfall some winter? Then all of a sudden, there was like a 80-degree heat wave, and just so much water just just went over the banks. I don't know.
Right.
It,
Yeah.
it,
There's been rivers like that. I know we've. Oh, what was the one that me and Sam were just talking about? Where it's really weird because it flows uphill, and it's like,
Mhm.
what? Why does it do that? You know?
no. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you also have those, like the annual, like flooding of the Nile.
Yeah, we're back in
What?
Egypt.
Yeah. Did something like that happen?
Well, what about like the ice shield? Like, because obviously there was a shell of ice. It's
Yeah.
coming down from Canada. Did that change it? When it was receding?
It's kind of wonder. Could, like, if the rivers are still flowing north, and like a big iceberg, like, broke off the front of the ice sheet, like, would it have flowed to the south to, uh, go over a dam, and like carved a deep enough groove in it that water started flowing over? Or I don't know. Or could it have just been a huge tree that uh, went over the dam, caused so much damage to it that it eventually broke? And I don't know why did several of them seem to break, the dams break around the same time? You Frank Leverett, that's one of the um, names in the title of the book. And Dr. White, spoke about it. Everything just seemed, uh, all the, you know, erosion seems like it was like a one-time deal. So what kind of natural disaster would have happened? There was a fault line near where the um, New Martinsville Dam broke.
So you're thinking maybe like fault earthquake or something like that could have happened?
Yeah, that's documented in I think it's like a 2-year-old um, university study. So I don't know. Maybe it was something like that. With that much, when the dam broke, the river is cutting down from where it was flowing near today's ridge tops, down about 300 feet in elevation. So it may have carved out, like the fault line, like, there's nothing there like the San Andreas fault that, you know, it's a really pronounced um, geological feature. There's nothing there. What? How do we explain that?
Right. So it means there's more stuff we got to be learning,
Yeah.
which is fun. That's what I like about archaeology, but paleontology for sure because there's
Hmm.
always new things to learn. Um, and it in your book, you got to go take lots of pictures, And you did what the guys like to tease me about, my favorite pastime, going to cemeteries. But you visited Dr. Hildreth's
Yeah,
tombstone, obviously.
yeah.
Tell us a little bit about him and why he was important to your book.
Okay. Yeah, I've gone to Marietta, Ohio, numerous times. Visited family in Parkersburg, so it's all kind of like you know an extended day trip. Going down there to visiting Barbara, but yeah, he was Dr. Hildreth was one of the pioneers in this salt mining industry. He's really into all the mounds and earthworks in Marietta. He did a lot to uh, preserve them for future generations. You can still see several of them there. Um, he was just heavily involved in a lot of these historic preservation projects in like the 1830s. But I think he's also being very respectful of the mining and letting people know what he was finding. And he is credited by um, Dr. Dr. Newberry's works. They're contemporaries. He made Dr. Hildreth also um, contributed to um, other researchers' books. He was sought after for his takes on skulls from the mounds. But he's buried. I think it's on the kind of like the north side of the Kronos mound in Marietta. He's a pretty interesting guy. I really liked him.
We'll see, Mark, if no one's written a biography about him. There's an idea.
That was one of those, where the museums were saying, "Oh, hey, one of our patrons was also, a pretty interesting guy. Now, if you have some time." That's I got that. So I actually like this whole series. There's probably like 8 books that I've been requested to uh, write, and like there's some other spin-off projects, but that's that. Yeah, a lot of local museums it just were very encouraging about um, what they have to offer, and I think that is another nice aspect of this. What Cheryl pulled me into is just meeting with museums and seeing what was in the collections, working with people, and it was you'll see in part 2 that even prestigious museum, like your nationwide, really prominent museums like the Smithsonian, they were very helpful as well. To answer another aspect of your questions is that working with such esteemed organizations was real eye-opening experience, and how open they have been with me and my questions.
Yeah, no, and you were talking about like going back behind the scenes and saying, because we only see what's on display, when you're
Hmm.
walking through a museum, but they have so many vast collections. And if
Hmm.
you get the opportunity to do that, it's so just amazing all the stuff you can see. You know, while you were back there in the collections, did you see something that you're like, hey, doesn't fit in this book, but I want to check that out in another
Yeah,
time?
yeah. There's that there might be a couple little spin-off projects. Yeah, like there was some other stuff totally unrelated, but there might be like a uh murder mystery uh book I might do.
Hey, another topic right up my alley, as Sam likes to say.
Yeah.
Yep,
Uh-huh.
he's on
Yeah, that
his
yeah,
serial killer
there's
kick.
a story there. I just need to look into it more, but um that's something just just kind of do uh wrap up the prehistoric stuff, then move into the uh
The true
like
crime section, yeah.
yeah, it's like a like jazz age kind of profiling murder mystery type Pretty Boy Floyd time period. I
Right.
I got really intrigued by that one. That's you get a couple people saying, Do that. That would be really cool."
Right. Yeah, no, that's something we've kind of sort of dip our, toes in the water. We
Hmm.
have been filming on location for a few weeks now. Hopefully we'll get that out either late this month or early next month. But that's just one question I've always had. What was it about that time where there's all these things popping up? Like you see in the 70s, you get a big spree of serial killers, but what about the early 1900s? What caused that? What was in the air? Uh,
One of my friends, uh, Roger Pickenpaw, who um, I think has a fantastic book on the President McKinley assassination. Um, he, he did meticulous research on the was it the World Expo or whatever called in Buffalo, New York. But that was 1901, and then you get to that like the Pretty Boy Floyd in the 1930s, the St. Valentine's Day massacre. It's all kind of around the same time period. It's there are some differences in what caused the events, but yeah, there was it was a rough time period.
right. Yeah, no, St. Valentine's Day Massacre. We actually have some family stories about that because it happened just down the block. And the mafia people, because apparently they liked my papu, my great papu. And they came in, they said, you might want to close down. So they closed down, and two
Yeah.
mafia people like followed my yaya, my great yaya, home. And she was like so freaked out. She was walking so fast, her like belt fell off, and they brought her belt home. Yeah, so interesting stuff up there in Chicago.
Yeah, there's to answer your question, if you look at that time period, there was a lot going on, and that might be another thing where a lot of people just kind of look at okay, Great Depression is the big story that was going on for covering several years. Well, look, peel the onion back a little more, and you get all kinds of seeing the underbelly of society at that time.
Yeah, and if you go a few years before, you really kind of get into the peak of that, early 1900s, and just a really intriguing world, and that's why F. Scott Fitzgerald, wrote Gatsby at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was reading your book, and this, I got really obsessed or excited, one could say, about one synapsid that you featured, and that was a Daphosaurus, big, celled back animal. We could call it lizard. It's not, but for those watching. But yeah, you gotta see some of these and actually talk about some that are kind of found around your area, right?
Yeah, that was something that can you see, like, by my finger? Is anything if I bring it in closer, it's gonna
No,
it's
I
a
cannot.
seashell.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
Oh,
right
I can
there.
kind of see it.
Okay, that's that was all right. Kind of a cool little thing that looks a little bit like a fern right by my finger.
Mhm.
Those were some local finds. Just another example of an inland sea. The sailback lizards, or what? I think they're actually supposed to be mammals.
Yeah, they're synapsids, so they're
Yeah,
closer to
it,
mammals and reptiles. Yeah.
yeah, but there was you know there are several that were documented in found in the area. There was one, like, right down the street uh, from me when they were building the interstate. One was found. I think it's on display now at the Carnegie Museum. The sample photo in the book. I can't even find it in my own book. That was a cast. There it is. It was right here. That's on display at the West Virginia Geological and Economic Survey, just outside of Morgantown, West Virginia. But those were found in the state and around the area. I think Dr. Hildreth found maybe a couple other samples in the Marietta area. So actually, there's not just like the one, the isolated example. There were actually quite a few that have been documented. I'm just kind of following some of Cheryl's guidelines at at the outset of this project was just is there something like we can expand a database, see what else might have come into the Grave Creek Mound since her book came out in, I don't know, was it 2015 or 2010? So I was like, okay, so once you start putting together all these sailback lizards, what was documented, other ones have been found since a report came out in the 1930s. The swamps that covered this area actually had a lot of critters like that. And it's very similar to what's in Max's, Marine Mysteries books, but they aren't eating the sunbathers along the Gulf Coast, but yeah, I think I'm dealing kind of like with some of the animals that Max writes about, but I'm presenting it a little different way.
Mhm.
Kind of like same time period, but hopefully I'm doing it kind of as well as he does.
No, I thought your book came off really good. I was excited.
Thank
I
you.
know I've had to sit on it for a little bit, and now I can talk about it, so I'm excited. But yeah, no, I'm very excited to get the feedback from people because I think the museums are going to be really appreciative, and I think people
Hmm.
once they dig into it, they'll enjoy reading it. Sam got to read it here
Hmm.
recently for the first time, and I know he thought it turned out really good.
I did. I did.
Oh,
There
thank
was a
you.
lot of things that I didn't know about, and now I do, and it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think Sam. I think that was what I was. You just said what I was talking about a little earlier. Is I think a lot of people when they're asked about West Virginia's prehistory, and it's like, oh yeah, the Grave Creek Mound and
Hmm.
the Hatfield McCoy feud. Okay, is there some?
There's more there.
Yeah. There's a lot more uh, to the story, and you know, I think like the farther back in time we go, and when you start um, finding all the uh, fossils and the tree stumps inside a coal mine, we actually know a lot more about you know 300 million years ago than we do more recently. It doesn't make sense, but
Right. Yeah, it's intriguing when you look at different locales, what history is
hmm
known more. And
hmm
sometimes it's like, really far and current, but nothing in between, or vice versa.
but
And it's like,
yeah,
why was
yeah,
the preservation bias that way?
yeah, and I think that's where I show up. It's kind of like uh, embarrassed. It's like, oh my gosh, you know. Do you have any kind of like fossil? It's like please don't throw stuff at me. I'm just asking for someone, asking for a friend, and they're like, oh, please come in. We want to help you. Like one of those kind of situations, and y- you know, it, I think in the areas, like the Pittsburgh has the Carnegie Museum. It's really leading museum with like T Rexes and Allosauruses, and you get the uh, all the different museums in Ohio. But it's kind of like that little strip of area along eastern Ohio and most of West Virginia. Most people don't know much about well, the history and as I said earlier, the museums are just um, maybe kind of struggling. You know, you know, a lot of the states are, the tri-state area is really trying to promote tourism and the hiking trails
Yeah,
and
no, it's something we can relate to on our travels. We have seen a lot of really cool, kind of mom and pop museums in a way.
yeah,
Just people just don't know about them, and that's what you're
yeah,
doing is you're trying to help shine a light on
but
them to get people there.
like the county historical societies, uh, you know, uh, they don't have a lot of prestige, but if you actually talk with go in there and ask what they have, you might be surprised, and maybe you start realizing, wow, okay, your little arrowhead display actually looks very similar to one of the places, one of the museums up the river in West Virginia. So was there cross river family connections, maybe? I don't, how do you explain the similarities? So even in Dr. Dragoo's book, he talks about like the burial number one. It was first uncovered as like for buried in, like 1400 or something like that. But could there were also mounds in that area that might be about contemporary. So did the first uncovered burial in the Crescent Mound have some kind of connection with the people who made the arrowheads across the river in Powhatan Point? So that I'll have some photos later in the series, but a lot of the county historical societies have things like that, and they are frequently overlooked. Like for example, the Carnegies, just fantastic resource for all kinds of stuff. But the county historical societies are frequently overlooked, but they need to keep the lights on too.
Mm.
And with all the stuff that you and Sam are visiting and filming there, you have so many diverse, just dinosaur type videos. I think it's a very marketable topic. People, I think most people just really love it. Where are all the museums that you're filming? Hopefully, as we get into the summer travel season, they can stop there. But that's where they make their money too.
Mhm.
Is uh, you giving them credit and letting people know, hey, if you want to see Tiny, he's here. Some of the other stuffs, they're 30 miles down the road at the other museum.
Right. Yeah, no, that's something I know we've been trying to work on is doing interviews at some of these local museums and help, get some just behind the scenes look and
Hmm.
just showing the passion that they have. Because when people see that passion, they're like, oh, these people really love what they're doing. I want to see why they like it. And then they go there and then they fall in love. So it's kind of our thing,
Yeah,
Mhm.
it found that if you uh, approach them and just just give them some time to get back to you about what they do have. I think in most cases, they'll probably get back to you in a prompt manner,
Hmm.
and they'll probably give you well, at least from my experiences, that they gave me uh, answered my question in far more detail than I asked them, and your videos seem to reflect that too on the dinosaurs, and Max has worked with museums as well. And
Mhm.
you can see on his website where uh, you know, there's a free exchange of information with um, what he's doing. They're consulting with him. So I just found it to be a gratifying experience, connecting with these larger museums and the smaller museums, and being put in. If they couldn't answer my question, people on their board of directors, would call me and say, "Oh, I'm representing the museum," and um, we don't. We're kind of focusing a little bit more on like the post-Civil War era, but if you're looking more for the Native American kind of stuff, information, I can help you with that. So, I found that um, the smaller museums were a um wealth of knowledge that some may have to just put you in touch with uh, someone not in the museum on a regular basis, but the board of directors was very knowledgeable, and they're doing you know working with the public to help expand um, their outreach as well. So I think what Cheryl brought me, recruited me for, became something else.
Right. Sounds like it's going to grow into quite the
Y-
writing career, Mark.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just need the time to do it, but um I I really have uh, appreciated I the opportunity, and really so many people made this a team effort. I just put together the words, but I had to listen to them as well. I just didn't say this is it. They uh, s- supervised me as well.
Yeah, a lot of things, people don't get to see the behind the scenes,
Hmm.
you know, just what goes into it. That's what I always talk about is our videos are like 10, 11 minutes, but there's months of research and filming and editing and talking to people. And
Hmm.
Sam being like, we've been to this site like 3, 4 times, but we're here again. Uh, but yeah, there's a lot of just behind the scenes stuff people
Yeah,
never see. And that's what I really like talking to people about and bringing that out because there's a lot of just hard work that has to be put into this stuff.
yeah, yeah.
There is.
Sam, what do you like going back to a place for the fourth time, or are you learning something each time?
Oh, absolutely. All the time. I'm just we always get strange looks sometimes because we see the same people again and they're just like,
Yeah,
wait a minute, you were here
you're
this
back. You're
long.
back.
Or they go through for us the dinosaur exhibit at the museum and see us still standing there filming the Allosaurus.
Yeah, we have a running gag that at some point we're going to release a 10-hour Allosaurus video about the Woods Allosaurus in our museum,
Oh,
which
it's going to be released.
it'll happen. But at some point, I do want to make a proper Woods Allosaurus because that story is fascinating how that was discovered. But yeah, we've definitely got some looks, or like sometimes we have to go back because find a grave. Going
Hmm.
back to the cemetery thing, we walked this huge field because it said it was in that location, and we had not remembered till we left because we were kind of in a time crunch. The cemetery is going to close, and of course we have to wait till after work to go down anyway.
Mhm.
And so we're eating dinner. I'm like, I bet you they flipped the location, the block and the lot, and we were looking in the wrong one. So we go back and we get out this past Friday, and I'm like, there it is, and it took us like 20 seconds, and I was like, well, we drove 40 minutes, and we're back for something we
Right.
could have found. But part of the adventure. Sometimes the adventure is worth more than the destination.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's like vacation. It's the trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You got
Well,
the family truckster and Aunt Edna, all kinds of things that happen. But that's what makes there's a story about the story.
right.
Hmm.
Why they make behind the scenes documentaries on some movies? Because like what was that Man on the Moon, about the Jim Carrey stuff going on when he
Oh
did
yeah,
his movie? Yeah.
Hmm.
Spinal Tap.
Hmm. Which I saw is coming back out in theaters.
Yeah. Having BB King tell you how to get to the stage, and all you do is just keep going around in the score. But that's the behind the scenes stuff of a, a band, or just researchers like us. You can't find what you're looking for the first time. Maybe you do meet BB King, but yeah, that's becomes an interesting aspect of what you're doing.
Hmm.
Right.
All the car and wind interruptions.
Well, Sam, anything you want to add or discuss
No, we pretty much covered it all without diving too much into things.
without spoiling things? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the viewers should leave with the impression that um, the three of us do a lot of the same type of research, and we do put a lot of effort into it, and it does pay off. We aren't making much money from this, but it really is an enriching experience. It's fun.
Hmm.
Yeah. All the interesting and good memories.
Oh yeah.
Weird experiences too.
Oh,
Yeah.
you got plenty of those.
If people want to learn more, the viewers, listeners, about you, check out stuff you're doing, and of course, purchase your book to learn more about all this very, very interesting history and prehistory of West Virginia. Can they do that?
It's on Amazon. It's entitled Lakes, Lizards, Linton and Leverett. And the subtitle is Ohio River Drainages, Antiquarians, and What They Found. And it's actually for about the 2 weeks it's been out. For most of the time, it's been #1 in new releases in hydrology. Not sure why it ended up in hydrology. We
But
got
hey, it's
more.
number one, so that's
Yeah,
what
yeah,
matters.
I'm not going to complain about it. I'm just saying, I'm not sure how. I don't know if Ken said, oh yeah, there's like water erosion in it, and the Amazon people said, well, hey, sounds like it fit in really well with the hydrology department. I don't know. I don't know how that happened. I get people like we spend a lot of time talking about um, the different kind of animals swimming in the river. That's in there too. You get some of the more recent Native American cultures, but Amazon, I guess, thought it was best to put in the hydrology department so that you can look in there. it was, I appreciate, yeah, yeah, it just been, yeah, just a really, having Cheryl, kind of supervise this, and it being number one. It's like in my first book, but I've written a lot of other stuff, which has caused me to get banned from some places. But I was just like, really uh, glad this has been so well received, and I appreciate you and Sam reading it and inviting me to do this podcast on it.
No, we're very happy to talk about it and share it. I enjoyed the book,
Mhm.
and
Oh,
we always have fun talking with you. And like I said earlier, you've helped us so much. It's the least we can do is help you talk about your book. And I really do think it's a really fascinating read. So I think it's going
no,
to keep being well received. I think museums are going to enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to the next couple parts, like you said.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
those are gonna be fun. That and they're gonna be more Ice Age centered. We're gonna move forward, a few 100 million years to the giant ground sloths and
Right. Which are super cool. There's
smilodons.
Mhm.
Smilodon. The one animal that's been in the news the most recently, the dire wolf,
Hmm.
with the fake
Mhm.
dire wolves that they made out of gray wolves, even though they're not canids. But that's a story for a future fossil frenzy.
Right.
Did I buy a skull just to do an episode? Maybe. Maybe.
Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that one too. It's like, you guys, y- do a lot of, the Western dinosaur, clips on what you're discovering, and it's really nice to work with like-minded people to, get the word out. Different parts of the country. So I have a little bit more of a marine kind of locale. You're more solid land.
Mhm.
The animals, represent, that they were walking and instead of swimming, but it's just all part of history that is really fast. It's just really, captivating, and I think there just really seems to be a growing market for wanting to know, and people are very educated. They want to keep expanding on uh, what they've been taught.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's kind of the journey for everyone is I think we're here to learn and
Hmm.
kind of take everything in. We're the only species that we know of that has the ability to put things together from the past, take up things and, actually see what it was just from bones. So I think having that ability, we got a responsibility to go out and do that. And as long as I have the ability to walk around, I'll keep doing it. I know you're out there always working, Mark. We would communicate back and forth, and you're like, I'm going to another museum today. So I know
Hmm.
you're out there doing stuff. And before we end off, though, too, any plans to go to any like festivals with your book or museums, do some book signings?
I'm going to be going to probably a couple museums, uh, and hand deliver at least one to the main curator. A couple museums want to have a couple books for their gift shops. So, since I'm still waiting on my first, box of books, you know, I can't do that at the moment, but I'm hoping that once, um, you know, I start, receiving stuff and in the mail, and people uh, have a chance to look at the books. Hopefully, by later this summer, there might be, like a book signing done. But at the moment, I do not have anything lined up, but that may change.
Right, got to keep it open, but
Yeah.
let us know. We'll make sure to tell the audience. We'll post and share and promote it too. But Mark, again, thank you for all you help us with, and thank you for joining us
Oh,
on our 60th episode. So super
no.
special episode all around.
Well, King
Mhm.
and Sam, just thank you a lot for this opportunity, as well as all the other the projects we've worked on. It's
Mhm.
just really been a a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and we'll do more in the future. I know.
All right,
Absolutely.
Let me
sounds good.
So once again, Sam and I both want to say thank you to Mark for helping us not only behind the scenes with so many different projects that we've been working on, but also coming on the show and discussing his book, which is really exciting for us and definitely for him. So make sure to go in the description below. There are the links to the book and go check it out for yourselves. I do think you guys will enjoy it. But until next time, guys, for more Culz interviews, click that link to your left. For more about us here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know what is something from this interview that you learned. Tell us in the comments below.